from Wendell Berry's great poem, Practice Resurrection. As soon as the generals and politicos can predict the motions of your mind, lose it. Leave it as a sign to mark the false trail, the way you didn't go. Be like the fox who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection. In these times, we got to remember the reason for resurrection. Just as it was 2,000 years ago during Jesus' time on earth, well, there remains even today a war on truth in the halls of politics and in the public square. We have our own Caesar these days, buffoon though he may seem to be, grasping at capitalist Christianity in order to win more people to his cause of political power, or maybe just make bail money, I don't know. But this corruption we deal with is not what Jesus died for. This corruption at the highest seats of power, it is not what we are living for. Nor are we living for the perfect leader, political nor religious. For us, it is not about the resurrection of one man or one single life, nor one single story. Easter facilitates the practice of resurrection. The practice of resurrection. It's the widower who, after losing his love of a lifetime, finds a completely different partnership in someone new and believes in love again. It's the mother who has lost her baby in childbirth, who somehow lives through the terror of another pregnancy, but does it anyway and brings new life into the world impossibly. It's the community of Lahaina in Maui, Hawaii, who carefully tended their tree in the center of town, that 150-year-old banyan tree that is now starting to present new growth and is becoming a symbol of hope for that area's rebuilding after devastating fire. It's the prisoner who served decades of their life in prison, only to find strength, purpose, and love after their release. It's the nation who loses its mind and through the tatters, maybe, finds its heart. It's the transgender person who nearly lost their life to dysphoria and fear, but didn't. Who transitioned into someone entirely authentic, true, gorgeous, and new. It's everywhere, if you're looking for it. Resurrection miracles abound. Now, I don't mind retelling the story of Jesus' death and resurrection at Easter, and I would say everyone in this room has their own version of Jesus at this point. But the Jesus of my understanding was not really creating a religion. He was leading a rebellion. That's my Jesus. So when the Roman Empire would divide people according to their cultural practices, Jesus called on folks to reject that division and to make a new way, one of serving one another at the same time at the welcome table, everyone welcome. And when the empire inflicted servitude upon the meek and to those people born into poverty, demanding they break their backs, serving and slaving away in service to the wealthy and powerful classes, well, Jesus created an entirely new definition of rich and poor. His insistence on spiritual poverty for the wealthy, his prophetic imagination about equality and all of humanity that would serve one another. Well, this was simply too threatening, you see, to the power structures. And so Jesus had to be put to death. And worse, he had to die horrifically, the horrific and torturous public death of criminals of the day. All this so that the established order of kings, the established order of the clean versus the unclean, the poor and the rich could be maintained. But if Jesus didn't die, well, then his message would be greater than that power. It would be greater than the power of empire. See, if Jesus didn't die, then his teaching could continue. Then his rebellion carried on. Then love still had a fighting chance. See, I love the Easter story because this is how a community tells the story of its own resurrection. When the stone was rolled away from Jesus' tomb, Mary Magdalene, Joanna, another Mary, some of these women did not see Jesus, but they did encounter angels who told them Jesus was resurrected, would not be found in the tomb. And upon hearing this, they were filled with joy and terror and went to spread the word. Joy and terror. See, one way to survive oppression is to stay confusing to the powers that be, to stay beyond their comprehension. The Easter story is the community of Jesus people telling the story of their own resurrection. Are you with me? For those of us here who are transgender or who love someone who has transitioned, these feelings of amazement, of joy and terror feel familiar. Now, I love a trans person in my life, and while for them there was no danger of the tomb, thank God, there was a time of deep confusion, of amazement even, and mystery of what in the heck was going on. The child, who we had always known since their birth by one name that they were born with, well, they had arrived to the end of that person's story, but their life continued on. The person who they had been, well, had been left behind in a tomb. They closed the lid on that other self, the one that was not in fact them anymore. Their old name, their dead name, now entombed. And their resurrection has been a full transition, and it continues still. The transition and the experience of their gender fulfillment, their gender joy, and even gender euphoria has been mysterious. It has been confusing for us who have witnessed their full journey, their family. But now, seeing them thrive in the world with friendships and purpose and pride in themselves and full authenticity in whatever it is they are up to is truly a joy to behold. It is beautiful. Because like all of us, like each of us, transgender people are loved into being. Whenever you say their name, they are affirmed and celebrated. Whenever you call someone by their true pronoun, affirming that you see them for who they truly are, they become more deeply effervescent until they are glowing, shimmering even, much like the transfigured Jesus, resurrected by his community, who continued to tell his story, to see him as he truly was, beyond death even. First it was those women who told the story, and then they shared it with the rest of the community, who affirmed for each other that no, the state had not killed him, that his message, that his way of being, that his radical love would continue to live in a whole new way. So I ask you, what is your practice of resurrection? I mean, how do you confuse empire? How do you live more authentically, leading others to joyful amazement, maybe a little terror too, to the persistence of life reborn? Maybe you celebrate transgender visibility, so I invite you to do that today. Maybe you tend a community garden. Maybe you give as much as you can away. Maybe you live with so much generosity that you transgress the rules of society. You confuse people with your generous living. Maybe you accompany someone who was incarcerated so they can thrive in freedom. Maybe you offer asylum. You share the love you have in your heart with someone who might need it so they don't become entombed. Maybe when someone in your life or your sphere goes low, you go high. And I mean like higher than seems reasonable, weirdly higher. Join the gender euphoria. Celebrate someone's non-binary self by making them feel so comfortable in your presence. That's a way to practice resurrection. And this is a day to practice resurrection, because somebody in your life might be trying to come out of their shell. So make it safe for them. Make the world a little safer for us all. Make them proud to be visible, shimmering in all their glory because it is in your presence and you see it. Be the one who resurrects someone, like those women did for Jesus at the tomb, like the blooming flowers of our corner of the earth are doing right now in front of our very eyes. This is the message those women shared after they left the tomb. Nothing can keep you from the life you were meant for. Closets, like tombs, are no match for the power of a person radically willing to forge their own path, to proclaim their own name, to transgress norms, transfuse truths, transform the elements, transfix the world, and a story of love that transcends binaries and belief systems, inviting us all to finally be free. The day has come to be the love this world needs. So do as Jesus told us. Go out and love some more. Amen.